Hi, this is Millie to Chirico. I'm a film programmer and a film writer, and I'm here with Ben Cheaves from Turner Classic Movies, programmer at TCM, and we are going to watch Common Law Wife with you.
Happy to join you here today.
Yes, it's such a pleasure getting to watch this with you. This movie starts in a very interesting way, don't you think?
It does. It's... I mean, right off the bat, it's making good use of this rattan peacock chair.
Yeah. Very reminiscent of that one scene from Gun Crazy, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a less erotic version of Peggy Cummings.
Oh. Do you know anything about this actor right here?
I don't at all, other than his haircut looks like Gary Oldman in Dracula.
Yeah.
But no, I wasn't able to find anything about him.
Yeah, that's kind of the interesting thing about, these kind of regional exploitation films is that there, unfortunately, is kind of a lot of missing information on a lot of who participated in them,
Yeah, it's, they're not working with the normal Hollywood set, so digging around on the IMDb for them is pretty tough.
Yeah, I think the things that we do know was that this was a Texas production.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, so they filmed this in Texas, and looks like from the opening credits, you'll see here in a minute, some of it was filmed in New Orleans, so just kind of southern regional cinema that they would take around, make low budget, and take around to the drive-in circuit.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's just what I'm doing.
What she got? What she got? I give you anything you want, and you want plenty. What she got?
We're coming up on a big reveal
right
here.
Now, which you haven't.
Why, she's your own blood niece. Hell, that's incest!
Uh-oh.
Words don't worry me. I've already sent for baby doll. So you can go pack your things. You'll find a check on the dresser. I'll continue to take care of you.
So I think, right off the bat, we're starting off with the kind of southern exploitation tradition of trying to giving the audiences something they couldn't get from Hollywood movies at the time. They were still restricted by the code. You're getting some sex scandal, and kind of goes all the way in the back of tradition of like Southern cinema, like the story of Temple Drake and Claudel English and things like that. So, which had kind of just started again with the Tennessee Williams films, Baby Doll.
What did you know or notice about this scene opening sequence? Because you said that you were talking to me off mic about how this was probably shot in New Orleans or influenced by New Orleans.
When I was watching this earlier, I looked up some of the bars that they were showing, like the Hotsy Totsy and Show Bar, and those were bars that were open on Bourbon Street in the 60s. So they at least went down there for getting some exposition shots.
Yeah. Also, I did notice in the credits that the actress that we just saw in that opening sequence, her name in the film is Anne McAdams, and she's also known as Annabelle Weenick, and she was actually in a lot of other exploitation films. She was in the movie Don't Look in the Basement, so she kind of has like a pretty good exploitation background, or would have, like an exploitation career, but she's kind of known under two names. So
yeah, I think acting wise, I think she kind of steals the movie. Like she's who I'm most emotionally invested in. She's done the most wrong too. We're certainly following the character of Jonelle, and AKA Baby Doll, the most. Which I guess we can talk about that character is played by two different actresses, because this movie was initially started as a project by Larry Buchanan that was supposed to be a film, kind of more of a Southern Gothic movie called Swamp Rose. Mm-hmm. The project was abandoned for one reason or another, and then the footage was sold to another exploitation production company.
Yeah.
And they were told to make what they can from it, and they pretty much decided to go the route of like a nudie cutie type of movie that was becoming popular with Herschel Gordon Lewis, Russ Myers, and Doris Wishman.
Yeah.
And so that's where the new actress comes in. And you can tell when you're watching the film that the older Swamp Rose was shot in 16 and blown up.
Oh, I see.
So you'll see a difference in the film quality, and you'll notice that it's just an actress wearing a kind of bad wig and with cat eye makeup and strutting around. But the original actress, according to Larry Buchanan's book, was Lacey Kelly, and apparently she just kind of won him over with her looks and va-va-voom, but she was not. She was not an actress for anything else. So she did not come back to the production when they picked it back up from the other exploitation production. Is jive with what you've heard?
Yeah. I mean, when I was thumbing through Larry Buchanan's book, it came from Hunger, Tales of a Cinema Schlockmeister. There's a section of the book about this film, and it's essentially about how beautiful Lacey is.
Yeah.
How he plucked her out of obscurity and was so fortunate to have her in this film. But it's interesting to have, this is obviously not the first time and wouldn't be the last time there'd be like two different directors on the same film, and sort of, seeing that kind of line of demarcation between like the first director's work and the second director's work. But it's interesting that the film stock changed. I think that's
it's when you're watching, if you're paying attention, like it's just it's pretty clear when it switches from one movie to the other. And so I think actually this is the part where they're gonna lay out some of the plot for the film of what a common law wife is.
He wants to bring his niece back here to, as he puts it, to take care of him.
And you want to know whether he can do that without providing for you?
No, he's offered to do that. Try to understand this, Mr. Lewis. I admit in the beginning it was strictly a dollars and cents thing. I was a stray cat looking for a home, and I took it on any terms I could get.
This office scene is actually very reminiscent of Herschel Gordon Lewis.
Yeah,
there's a lot of headroom in this shot, but the scenes of people sitting in offices at desks is very Herschel Gordon.
Yes,
it's funny.
I would say Linda here is like she's giving a very Tennessee Williams, Maggie the Cat type of performance, which I obviously love, and I think that's my entry into the movie is just kind of loving all the Tennessee Williamness of it.
Right, because I think that is probably a good thing to bring up, is that, there is this sort of Southern Gothic tradition. Oh, by the way, this is fantastic.
What a shot.
Great shot. Probably one of my favorite shots in the movie, to be honest.
Yeah.
I have no idea who this little girl is, but she's fantastic.
Yeah. Imagine like coming into town and just having a little kid mock your walk. I love it.
Yeah.
This phone call's pretty great too.
Yeah. The introduction of Jonelle, aka a baby doll.
Jonelle is an interesting name too. It took me a minute to wrap my head around that one.
Hello?
I want to talk to Mr. Rainey, please. You tell him it's baby doll. He'll know.
Oh. You're Jonelle.
Are you going to call him to the phone, or aren't you?
No, I'm sorry, but Mr. Rainey's out of town.
When's he coming back?
I don't know when he'll be back.
Look, he sent me a telegram saying he was sick and wanted to see me.
Yes, he was feeling a little out of sorts last week, but he's fine now.
Don't give me that. I know who you are.
I'm coming out to see my Uncle Shug.
Looks like
Well,
there's some
I'll
dubbing
be sure
happening.
to tell him to call you as soon as he gets back.
You hear?
Oh, yes. Yes, I'll do it for sure.
Drop dead.
For sure. Baby doll.
Yeah, I think, picking back up with what we were just talking about Tennessee Williams and kind of Southern Gothic tradition. I mean, honestly, like, I think a lot of that Southern exploitation world was obviously sort of influenced by that commercial Southern media that was happening around this time in the 50s and 60s. So
Right.
a movie like this would have probably been very close to something like, A Cat on a Hot Tin Roof or Sweet Bird of Youth or something that would have been kind of more commercially popular and Hollywood product,
Yeah, I mean, right around the same year, like God's Little Acre came out with like Tina Louise and like, okay, and here we've switched to the older Swamp Rose film. You can tell the film stock's grainier, and this is a different actress than who just strutted in with white sunglasses and a wig. Yeah, I actually, she kind of reminds me of Tina Louise in God's Little Acre. But I think around that time, like Claudel English was coming out, and so, they were both sold by the studio as like kind of scandalous stories that were too hot to tell.
Yeah.
And you would certainly, as an exploitation filmmaker trying to get people to come see your movie at the drive-in, you would have tried to cash in on that, or it's an easy pitch to get an investor to give you some money to make a movie about it.
100%, yeah.
Joe now. It's been a long time since I heard that. Why don't you call me Baby Doll, like everybody else does?
Because it's a damn silly name nobody but your uncle ever called you.
Where is Uncle Shug?
Out of this house. It's where he was this morning. He said you were coming home. Why don't you come out the house for a while? I'll run you over to Uncle Shug this afternoon. You might meet Linda. I'll have it.
I'm with you, big, strong brother-in-law.
Yeah, the sheriff character is very interesting to me. I mean, obviously, a classic philanderer,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
kind of
it's
goes back to the whole like lurid Southern tale of a sheriff being kind of involved with impropriety.
Yeah, their relationship's a little confusing, as everyone is, and it kind of goes back to like the dubbing and the different films and the different actresses. You're kind of like, it's a little bit of a collage of a film that's, it's a strange feeling when you're watching the film.
Yeah.
No different.
But yeah, the sheriff Jody is kind of the hunk of the picture. He's your Paul Newman. He kind of reminds me of like John Aston from the all the like Roger Corman movies.
Jody also feels like a very Southern name
Jody, yeah.
for a man.
I love a
It's almost ready. I wanted to help. No.
mixed gender name like that.
Yeah.
Tell me about all the places where you've been. Places where you've been doing your dancing.
I'll tell you all about New Orleans, Dallas, Miami, everywhere I've been. Only, you got to tell me all about poor Uncle Shug. Brenda,
Yes?
there's been no one else around. No one asking about Uncle Shug's health. Like any of the relatives. Somebody he might leave his money to.
Uh-oh.
Anyone?
There's another plot point that occurs is the rich uncle.
Yeah, so, Baby Doll's got several pots in the fire.
Yeah.
I was like trying to track of which man she's exploiting at which time is a little confusing as well.
Yeah.
They could be right. Country boy, I want you to tell me all about Linda.
What's to tell you haven't already guessed?
Never mind. Just you tell me everything you know about it.
Okay. Rainey wants to start a fire. I don't mind pouring gasoline.
Again, I mean, one of the interesting things about these low-budget regional films is just getting to see these kind of locations, and they're like sort of just documentaries about the time. Like,
Yes.
that was obviously someone's house who was on the production, you know, and so kind of you're getting to see inside people's houses. These are probably, you know, their own clothes, or she was sent to the department store to buy an outfit, and so it's like a good document at the time. And I don't know, that's one of the things I always like about watching an old movie like this, is just nerding out about those things.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I mean, especially, we go back to talking about Herschel Gordon Lewis, sort of another, you know, exploitation filmmaker working in this era too. That's kind of the, you know, him taking advantage of those locations in Florida, and, you know, between him and Doris Wishman and, you know, other Florida exploitation directors, they were kind of showing a part of Florida that people weren't really seeing very much. So,
yeah, I mean, I'm sure that you know, the filmmakers here were encouraged by Herschel Gordon Lewis' entire like setup of making those low budget films in the region and just taking them to local theaters.
Yeah,
and kind of just skirting the entire studio system. And speaking of like taking advantage of location, like whoever's house this is, like the mismatch from the exterior shot to this kind of like weird modern home is great.
I'm here.
How would you like to stay here? Take care of your old Uncle Shug.
What about Linda?
Linda doesn't live here anymore. As soon as you move in.
You two like to see what I bought this morning?
No.
Well, you better
he
look.
told her.
Shug
What kind of damn foolishness
reads her
is
for
that?
filth the entire movie.
I'm married, that's what.
Married? Who to?
You.
Why, you're out of your mind. Take that fool thing off and go pack your things.
Not me, lover. But you can pack that thing out of here and keep it out. From now on, this is my house. And I don't want any tramps hanging around it. Who you calling a tramp? You, tramp. Get out.
Calm down, calm down. Take my car keys. I'll have her out of here by the time you get back tonight. Go on now.
I thought her like main job is just to wiggle. I'm like, she's got a good gig here.
I'm here. And I mean to stay. So you better get used to it.
Why should I?
I think I'd like a diamond. A large diamond engagement ring. To go with my wedding band.
I'll give you one. If you leave quietly before Jonelle gets back. Stop playing games. Be a good girl.
I'm not leaving. And Jonelle isn't coming back.
I'm just curious about the whole notion of
This isn't a game.
a common law wife being a salacious tale to tell. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, like this. I mean, the
Wayfair Motel.
poster for the film, I think, it's lays claim to be like, this could happen to you. Do you know the law in your state? And I love that, like, it's kind of like, does anyone know what a common law wife is, and like, what's that mean? And so,
Yeah, because obviously, I think in this era, you're still kind of under. You're in a pre-second wave feminism time of there still being marriages and divorce being not as common as it would be, obviously.
right, and women having no like financial independence.
Right. So it's curious how this is a movie that kind of rests on the idea of a couple who wouldn't be married, but that they had been together for so long that she technically would be his wife.
Right.
Right. And that being sort of a threatening thing to the man because he's got other dalliances,
Right. Which I guess it does seem odd because it's a law written to protect women, which famously are not typically done.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, just it's so funny how you look back on some of these exploitation movies and you're kind of like, oh yeah, the entire crux of this movie is based on something that, probably makes a lot more sense in the early 60s than it does in the modern era, right?
I know that, at least up until the 80s, I first came familiar with common law marriage through an episode of Who's the Boss, where Tony and Angela checked into a motel on a road trip and then come to find out they were considered common law man and wife and had to navigate those waters. And I was super perplexed by what that meant and kind of put that in my back pocket, being like, always be careful of who you check into a motel with.
Yeah. By the 80s, it had become sort of almost a comedic device, but in the 60s, it was still...
Hotsy-totsy.
Yeah, it was, your worst nightmare as a single person.
Hello, Shugford.
Jake, what's a common law marriage?
It's a legal marriage that you get into without formally going before a qualified person, like a preacher or a justice of the peace.
How do you get involved in one?
You go to bed with an unmarried woman, and then you convince a couple of citizens that you're man and wife. There it is, simple.
Will it hold water in court?
If it's a bona fide common law marriage, it'll hold water in any court in this state tighter than the Hoover Dam. Next question?
All right. How do you bust it?
You don't bust it. You live with it or you get a divorce. Now, in your case...
This lawyer that has this woman on his lap is very interesting to me.
Yeah, she's just at his beck and call for every conversation she has. Or he has.
What the hell do you think I'm paying you for?
I love her acting in this chair. She like the way she just is always kind of walking around and sitting in it and like weaponizes it almost.
Fight you every damned inch of the way.
My lawyer will like that. Well, why don't you try putting up with me? You didn't used to think I was so bad.
A quick cut back to Jody and Jonelle.
Yeah.
So this is kind of the beginning of that sort of nudie cutie aspect to the film.
Yeah, I feel like that's why the film got picked back up again. They were like, someone probably was motivated to pick up the Swamp Rose footage.
Yeah.
To be like, I could do something with this and just...
There goes Jonelle.
Oh, hell, I was just funning her at lunch.
Don't do it, Jonelle.
If that's what you want, brother-in-law. You deal my game, and I'll play yours.
What'd you come back for, Jonelle?
Oh, something I want. Does a teacher know...
And again, I think I like it that everyone in the movie is related in some way. Like they're just playing off other Southern salacious stereotypes.
Oh, absolutely. That's a big one.
No. Leastways, not right now.
This whole scene also kind of reminiscent of Hitchcock's Psycho. This movie came out probably right after. I would assume this was probably filmed like right either as Psycho was coming out, if not shortly after.
Yeah, I think it's just after it. I've seen two dates like kind of mentioned with 61 and 63, so I'm imagining that the first production was in 61 and then they put it together in 63.
Yeah.
You know, Jody boy, that's exactly how I figured it. Sits up there in that big house with his Linda. Kidding everybody.
This actress, the non-Lacey version of Baby Doll, Kind of reminds me of someone who would have been in a like John Waters cast. She kind of has that angry acting style. She looks like a little bit like Tracy Lords or Kim Webb in Crybaby, and I love her for that.
Yeah, I was actually gonna say she kind of looks like Dua Lipa. If they decided to remake Common Law Wife, they could get Dua Lipa to be Jonelle.
I think you're nailed it.
Take me for a ride this afternoon, Jody boy.
You name it.
Where we can talk without interruption.
You know, for that, I think I know just the place.
I thought you might.
This sequence is pretty fun to me. It's kind of just them hanging out for a day, and it's like nothing much is going on. It's just kind of a way for like the filmmakers to show off their young bodies.
Yep.
And so I think it's like kind of born out of the tradition of the European art film that came over as a way for men to see something salacious in theaters and
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, gotta have the lady in a bathing suit.
To get to frolic with ducks and
It makes me wonder, like, whose property that's on.
Yeah.
To have this like giant pool with this like scaffolding, high diving board.
it does seem very Texas.
Yeah.
Like, I'd imagine it's. It's a nice setup for a pool. You got a high dive and a slide. And
I mean, that's a giant pool for someone's yard, I have to say.
could film underwater scenes here for Creatures in the Black Lagoon.
Yeah. A little confused by that. I wasn't sure if that was some sort of like modesty cloth that,
Yeah.
you know, because it's indicated that she took her bathing suit off underneath the water.
Right.
So.
Yeah, it's interesting to figure out what they can still show, and like whose discretion was that? Like, 'cause there's no actual nudity, or if there is, it's like super brief here.
Yeah.
Most of the stuff is teased to like right out of frame, and kind of like
You sure travel
like-
prepared, don't you?
artfully
Girl Scouts
artfully set
and
up for the
resort.
shots to tease you to keep looking that you might get to see something and you never do.
Well, and you know, part of it too is that you just saw it. Like, it's a lot of shot from behind, lower back nudity.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
you
You're
know
like-
is probably trying to skirt some kind of obscenity law. But I think it's interesting how, in this film in particular, that the nudity that is shown is always shown from the same perspective
Right.
of like a woman's lower back.
Right.
With like the zipping up and down and the corset coming on and off. It's very.
They do the thing that a lot of pre-code films did, where it's like it's always like if a scene's happening, the women are always going to be undressing and putting things on and stuff. So you're like, it's the tease that something might happen, that she might turn around.
Yeah.
Don't
old times. You remember.
How could I forget?
Cheers.
Cheers.
This is my kind of place, by the way. I'm always excited when there's a dive bar in a film.
Pick up your Boilermaker and let's drink it in the back, huh?
Yeah.
Was this the White Rock Terrace?
It was interesting because as I was doing research about some of the potential locations in the film, you know, I mean, a lot of it seemed to be sort of in and around the Dallas area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it kind of seems like a banquet, like a restaurant, like a what I remember from the early '80s, like going into these old towns like that. They'd have a restaurant, and there's these kind of banquet rooms in the back.
Yeah, or like maybe even like a VFW hall or something.
When I was watching this, it kind of reminded me of a movie we watched together, Loveless, the William Dafoe motorcycle movie where they have that scene that goes into that dive bar with the striptease dance.
Yeah.
I wonder if they saw this.
Ever kicked out of town? What do I care how you do?
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing that's really interesting about this movie in particular, too, is that it was part of the whole, you know, Something Weird library at one point, which, you know, a lot of these, I would say, kind of rare Southern exploitation, you know, kind of like regional filmmaking, I think probably would have been brought to certainly our generation or just a certain generation through, you know, kind of the Something Weird library and the kind of the home video exploitation labels that were out in like the 80s and the 90s. So, you know, it's very possible that anybody in that era who was making a movie about, you know, Southern, lurid Southern tales would have maybe seen something like this via, you know, home video VHS, you know?
Right. Like, I wonder, I mean, this was probably not on like the repertory circuit in the late 70s and 80s. I don't think it had been rediscovered by then. So it's tough to say. You know, yeah, like kind of until the 80s and 90s video revolution and having, you know, video stores where you go and rent and specialize in cult movies.
Yeah.
These films were just lost.
Yeah.
She's pretty great in this scene.
Yeah, I was gonna say
this is definitely, I think, why she got hired. You know,
Larry Buchanan was like, "I struck gold here."
Also, the soundtrack's pretty good for these type of things. Like normally the kind of jazz rock that you get in these movies can be kind of grating and annoying, but like there's a couple of scenes here, like that scene at the beginning, the opening credits, like pretty good.
Yeah, this is the White Rock Terrace where, when I kind of looked this place up, it was, I believe, in Dallas, and you know, was around for a long time. I don't know if it's still around, but it was for a long time, at least within the age of the internet.
I'm sure that's exciting to see, like when you're watching, if you're in this area and the movie comes down, you're like, hey, they're at the White Rock Terrace. I know that place. You know, like it's always exciting for me anytime anything's filmed in Georgia. You're like, I know that place.
Yeah. But like I said, I mean, it's hard to say whether or not this was actually the interior of the White Rock Terrace because when it shows back up later in the film, it almost looks a little different than this section that they're in. I mean, you never know, but
Yeah, there's some switching back and forth here between the older Swamp Rose film and the newer footage here.
yeah, you can definitely tell that there's kind of like a suture happening with some of the film.
Yeah, so Baby Doll's trying to get... She's got a racket going with this guy, Bull, who's the moonshiner. She's got a racket going with Jody the sheriff. And then another racket going with Uncle Shug, so...
You haven't changed much. Not like some I know.
Nope. Ever since I got that little old still working out in the swamp, I've been keeping Jody on the run, making plenty of money. Got a new car, but still the same old bull.
Hope it's not all bull.
Try me once.
I might just do that.
Yeah, this actor who plays Bull, you know, I don't think that he was in much. His name is Burt Masters. And I think he had done some TV prior to this film, but I think this might have been the last thing that he did.
He looked strangely familiar, but I couldn't place him. Maybe he just looks like everyone who played this type of Southern hillbilly. That is a drive to get to the White Rock Terrace from his shack.
Fastest thing on the water.
You move pretty fast yourself. Just you keep your hands in sight.
Yeah, that's kind of another like I would say trope of these kind of Southern exploitation movies from this era is the swamp and the swamp houses and the lake houses and stuff being places where people go to either, you know, enact crimes or they're like love dens or something, you know, something that's set in the woods that's away from everybody else.
Yeah, it feels like the film that Larry Buchanan was setting out to make of the Swamp Rose was more like in line with like the Tobacco Road and like Swamp Water.
Yeah.
From the 40s, that kind of like more like people kind of off the grid, Southern Gothic thing, and then they were the story in the other film is more rooted in the uncle that's a oil baron, and this kind of like her shaking him down for city things.
Yeah.
Like more in town versus this swamp story.
Yeah.
Ooh, it stinks.
Yeah, it stinks. I hold my nose all the way to the bank. You know, that's money you're smelling, baby. I ain't no poor boy no more. I found out a lot of people work for stink money. I'm sorry if I hurt your feelings.
Forget it. Who am I to blame you for the way that you make it? As long as you make it.
I feel like we've had an actress change here too, right?
This is Lacey Kelly.
You know,
Yeah.
According to Larry Buchanan's book.
How much can you make in Bolden money? running this stinkhole?
I don't know. Depends a lot on the weather. You see, in cold weather, it takes maybe a week for the mash to ferment. But weather like this, 2 or 3 days. Say about 20 gallons a day.
That doesn't mean
I guess I also
anything to me. It might
associate
make you think retail.
moonshine with the mountains and not necessarily the swamp region, but
Oh, let's say 5.
But yet another common Southern
yeah, totally.
trope, the moonshiners, bathtub gin.
Yeah, I guess like Thunder Road and
Yeah.
You know, when you left Serenity to go stripping in New Orleans, like I couldn't keep you. I didn't have a quarter in my jeans. Now I got it, and I can give you plenty.
You're as wrong as Jody tonight. I don't need anybody now. Not you nor anybody.
Huh? What do you mean?
Never you mind what I mean.
You wouldn't be talking about your Uncle Shug, would you, baby?
Could be. Yeah, the rich old goat.
Well, you know him, and I know him. But what about all the rest of the people in Serenity? They think he's a God-fearing Christian.
The only thing he's afraid of is that some night he might have to sleep alone. Or without his whiskey bottle.
And don't I know it? Why, he ain't supposed to be drinking anything stronger than soda pop. But I got a standing order every day. 1 quart of rye.
I'm sick of men putting on like they were so holy. He was the first. He used to dress me up in them pretty dresses he'd buy me. Then he'd make me take them off in front of him. Walk up and down, staring at me all the time.
Nice old gent, but that's over. Now you and me, we're going to get together from now on. We're going to do things together, just you and me, yeah, honey?
No. Get away from me, Bull.
Oh, no, take it easy now.
Take me back.
I'll take you back later.
I'll go back by myself.
What? Through that swamp? Hell, you wouldn't get 100 yards. There's gators in them waters, and if they don't get you, the cottonmouths will.
I'd stay put. I'm not dealing with gators or cottonmouths, whatever those are.
Yeah, hard to tell what time of day this is. The lighting is so interesting.
Yeah.
You know.
I think, yeah, we're back to the newer footage here with the new actress. It's so surreal just between the cuts. Sometimes you're, wait, which person is this?
I mean, to be completely honest, considering that they are two totally different women, it isn't as jarring as it probably could have been.
Right. I feel like they got the same dress, and that helps.
Yeah, they figured out how to match a couple of things: the hair, the eyebrows, maybe, and maybe that's all you need. And then, of course, you can tell that they're shooting, further away sometimes to make you realize, to make you not notice that they're actually two different people. So, I've seen worse, is all I'm saying.
Sure.
Don't you think?
Again, I think in a lot of the cases, like at least with Herschel Gordon Lewis, like these were people who had kind of like cut their teeth doing commercial films, so they would be familiar with some like filmmaking techniques, and they're not just like people who are first time picking up a camera. So that kind of matching, and I imagine is a result of them being able to having that kind of practice.
Yeah. Kind of moving into a little roughy territory here.
Yeah, I feel like that's maybe the most salacious the movie gets.
Yeah, definitely. Probably one of the only scenes of actual nudity.
I don't suppose you'd have a drink. No, I didn't think you would. Good morning, sister.
Jonelle, I have a question to ask you.
She kind of reminds me of
Honest answer.
Madeline Sherwood from
Cat on Hot Tin Roof.
Yeah, Sweet Bird of Youth, and Cat on Hot Tin Roof.
Yeah, she's got that that look.
Mm-hmm.
You were with my husband all yesterday afternoon and evening. Now, he came in about midnight, looking like he'd been in a fight. You didn't come in till dawn. I want to know what happened.
I wasn't in a fight. Your husband was. Ask him.
I'm asking you.
All right. We went for a ride. We wound up at the White Rock Terrace. Jody got stinko and started putting on like a big man. Bull cut him down to size. Now that's the whole deal. Don't expect me to wet nurse him. He's a big boy.
Let me tell you what you do. You go over and see Uncle Shug. Now, he's got a nice big house with plenty of room for an alley cat like you. And if he'll have you, you'll stay. But this is the last night you'll spend in my house.
Or else what? You gonna call the tough sheriff and have me thrown out?
I wouldn't want to have to do that.
You don't have to. You want him? I'll call him for you. I don't even have to call. I just whistle. And there he is, half an hour early. Go ahead, see for yourself. Satisfied?
Yeah, it's interesting going back to the idea of this common law wife thing. Obviously I think the majority of the movie is about Jonelle and about her character.
Yeah.
And how she's sort of juggling all these different men. But then, the movie is called Common Law Wife, and it's technically supposed to be from Linda's perspective.
Yeah.
But it really is more about this,
Yeah, I think she was maybe the more
I have ever since we were kids.
interesting actress to follow around.
Right.
Is what they found out, but yeah, it's not. It's
I guess it's more appropriate to name it Swamp Rose because she would
Yes.
assuming that Jonelle is the Swamp Rose.
I believe so.
And maybe, it was a function of those movies in this era too, to also just call a movie something that they thought would be the most, the most lurid, the title that they thought would get people to watch the film, And sometimes it's barely related to what the movie's about.
Sure, that's the case where the poster comes first.
Yep.
Common law wife implies like some kind of sexual.
Yeah, it implies like, the idea that there are people in this movie that are not going to be married.
Yeah.
And that they're going to be this sort of like, I don't know, somebody that is not willing to have like a good Christian marriage, and that they're going to just have a common law relationship.
Yeah, Swamp Rose is a little more florid and literal and or literary, and Common Law Wife is more explicit. And the poster where I think we were talking about earlier, where it says like, "Do you know the law in your state?" Like that's kind of the gotcha hook.
I thought I'd seen the last of you when I got your message last night, loud and clear.
That was last night. Girl can learn a lot of lessons in the dark. This is today. Mad? Don't be mad. It's a nice day for a trip to the bayou.
Yeah. The swamp sure looks pretty this time of day.
I mean, this is in the cut. You gotta go. To get to his spot, you really gotta take a car, you gotta take a boat.
It is out there.
How about a shot of rye?
Don't mind if I do.
So we switch actresses again.
Yeah.
Good, huh?
I don't want to die. Not just yet.
Speaking of folks dying, how's your Uncle Shug?
Mean as ever. He ain't never gonna die. He'll outlive us all.
Linda kind of upset your little red wagon, don't she?
Kind of.
Sure don't seem right, somehow.
No, it don't.
Sure don't seem right by the time some folks have enough money to burn, there ain't no fire left in the stove. Sure don't seem right you're going back to stripping. Taking your clothes off in front of all them guys. And all them strange fellas pawing at you.
Hush!
Linda holding the money?
Hush!
Didn't mean to shake you, baby.
Bull, how long does it take?
What? Come again? I don't get your meaning.
How long does it take to kill somebody?
Oh, cyanide's fast enough.
We could get to be real good friends.
Yeah. You scratch my back and I scratch Uncle, huh?
We had a lot of fun together when we was kids, didn't we, Bull?
Yeah. Remember when we used to play grown-ups together?
There was never any mystery in what you was thinking.
No, a gal always knew exactly where she stood with old Bull.
Uh-uh.
Hey, you're a tease. You're a real tease.
Looks like Jody's doing his own speedboat driving in this scene.
You're right. And lots of it. So I think he's back on the case now for realizing that Baby Doll's gonna get revenge on Uncle Shug.
You know, I guess he technically could have had Bull arrested back in the White Rock Terrace for assaulting a police officer, but he didn't. So he's now coming to his house.
Yeah, towards the end, the converging storylines get a little mixed up in my mind. It's hard to follow along.
Bull, get up. Jody's coming.
This guy's pretty great.
Yeah, I'm curious if, you know, he almost like left the biz after this movie because he's not really in anything. this film.
You never got the call up.
You need target practice, Jody boy. You couldn't hit a bull with a bass fiddle, let alone that cap gun. You're lucky. Bull's a good shot.
Better keep hoping he's a fast shot, because the next time I see him, I mean to kill him.
Ha!
Saw a couple of strangers in town today. You know they claim they didn't know you. Want their names so you can bat 1,000?
Don't get worked up, Jody boy. You can't afford me.
Why not? I got 2 bits.
Keep it. When a teacher finds out about your private playground, you'll be needing it.
Oh, yeah, I think this is when Baby Doll reveals why she's so mad at everyone in town.
Yesterday afternoon you turned me on, last night you freeze me out. What'd I do to rate that?
You tried to kill me this afternoon. I'm supposed to like it?
I tried to kill Bull, not you, and you damn well know it. What can you get from that fat louse?
Something I want.
Like what? Jonelle, I've been wanting you every night since we were 15 years old. So we didn't make it. You ran out of town.
I didn't run. I was pushed out.
All right, pushed. That was a long time ago. It's over now, and people have forgotten about it.
I haven't. I'm gonna step it up their noses. But good.
Me too?
Especially you, Jody boy. When you were a kid, you were stupid. Stupid enough to register in a motel with your right name. Stupid enough to get me in a fix, so I had to leave town. So stupid. All you've got to show for your life is a cheap house, a moron's job, and a cold-natured wife. I wouldn't have any part of you if it was gold-plated. Now go back to school, Jody boy. You need learning.
She definitely learned how to read someone from her Uncle Shug.
Mm.
Good night, Mary. See you tomorrow.
This cannot be good.
No, I don't think so. It's just...
If you two can let go of each other for just 1 minute, I have something to say.
They did not seem to care.
It wasn't me, Brenda.
Well, it certainly wasn't me, honey.
Don't blame Jonelle.
I told you to get out of this house tonight. And that's now.
Put down the gun, Brenda.
You think they'd convict me, Jody? What do you think, Jonelle? You'd know about things like that. Come on.
They've got kind of the black and white outfit scenario going, almost kind of like the Psycho transition. The bad girl wearing black and the good girl wearing white.
Right. I like that Janelle's forced to get dressed in the front yard here.
That's what happens when you mess around.
Not her most glamorous moment of the film.
She was shamed into wearing pants finally.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, kind of shot from the back with this sort of, women's back perspective.
Yeah. Some of the director's preferences here.
Could be.
It's, it's a good look for her. I kind of like the pants. Is she cruising a motel to find someone to check in with to get married? Who's her next victim?
This is her Brad Pitt from Thelma and Louise moment.
Right.
Bull, I've checked into the Vista Motel.
And now it's Uncle's turn to check out. So you can cash in on the will, right?
Never mind why.
This deal is strictly COD. Keep that in mind, baby.
You remember that deal we made?
Very southern house here.
Yeah. This is back in the Swamp Rose film.
I hope Linda takes a nip along.
I think this is the first time we're seeing the exterior of Uncle Shug's house, right?
Yeah.
All bull, no guts.
Which the inside kind of looks like a late 50s, 60s ranch home. But I'm not sure if we talked about the some of the dialogue about how just kind of fun it is and how like just kind of sarcastic a lot of the lines are, and like it has a lot of bite, like a Russ Myers movie. And who's it that was the screenwriter?
Grace Nolan.
Grace Nolan, yeah. I wonder like how much of that is her.
Can't understand plain English, Ken. I want to see Uncle Shug. I've got something for him. His moonshine. Where'd you get
It does seem like kind of a exploitation style now. If you look back on these films, I mean, it's interesting because
Where's Bull?
you have to assume that a lot of these actors that were appearing in these like regional exploitation films were either from the area,
Right.
like if you're lucky, they were local actors, sometimes truly non-actors. And, you know, you're thinking along the same lines of the Hollywood product that was happening at this time. Like, there was an acting style that lent itself to sort of melodrama, like Hollywood melodrama. So it's kind of this weird, like, pastiche almost of amateur, like, non-actors attempting to maybe seem like they're in the Hollywood melodrama film, you know?
Yeah, the heightened, like, kind of Betty Davis, like, smoking a cigarette and delivering a zinger. And, but yeah, I see what you're saying there.
And then, but yet now so much further down the field that we are, you know, within the context of this era of exploitation film, it's almost like its own style, you know?
Where is she?
Gone. Oh, but she'll be back.
It's curious how we assumed that the common law wife was sitting around reading magazines while all of this was happening. There seems to be a lot of...
Yeah, she hasn't been up to much. I guess she kind of, like, and that's that.
Yeah.
I'm back in this house.
Oh, yes. She's mentioned.
Also, I'm obsessed with Uncle Shug's sort of like, what is that, like a giant brandy glass?
Yeah.
You and your common law marriage?
To match her peacock chair.
No, I sure as hell don't.
I have a weird feeling this wasn't their actual house.
No.
You were good to me for a while. More than I can say for my own mother and father. You gave me a home. And I mean to stay in it, if you'll let me. Oh, I don't mind paying the price. I'm used to it. Live with a rattlesnake for 5 years, you can even learn to love it.
It's great line.
Well, what's the matter with me? What's that drink that I haven't got? Oh, watch me, old man. Watch me.
Like, Linda kind of has a Natalie Wood moment here.
What, please?
I know, it's kind of like a sad striptease.
Yeah.
What's happening here?
I love that.
But Annabelle Weenick is actually a great actress.
Yeah.
Like, I think she's probably, I would say, probably the best actress in the film in that way. She has a lot of credits to her name. You know, she's probably working a lot in this era. Here we have the Shug.
Finally.
After drinking out of that giant fishbowl brandy glass.
I thought you would get whiskey in a mason jar and pour it into that for him.
You know what? Class up the vessel if you can.
Tongue a wagon. I love the setup of their argument here where it's like a dueling staring at the camera close-ups. It's pretty I don't know, it's kind of just exhilarating the way they're arguing.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is the White Rock Terrace that there was kind of a different shot here, even though this part is definitely like from the original entrance into the White Rock with like the ham sign and everything.
You stink.
Mr. Rainey's sick.
So?
I've called the doctor, and Mr. Rainey.
Yeah, the way they're like staring into the camera here, I don't know why. I'm just like, what's going on here?
Hope he chokes on it.
Please come.
Belevs?
Yeah, these shots are actually great.
Might be good for a kick. You gonna take me?
Mm-hmm.
That's fine. I want you to watch. Mrs. Rainey.
Yeah, this is a great kind of jazzy number during this.
Yeah, I mean, like I don't want to give too much credit here, but a little bit of noir lighting here. It's kind of, I think it's taking a bit of a noir turn here.
Yeah. Wonder if there's any information out there about, the music, the soundtrack, because, you know, it would have been cool if they had listed it somewhere.
Yeah, I tried to look up something just to see if they had a soundtrack listing, and nothing was listed, so I'm not sure if it's just library music or what.
I feel like they're looping some of this a little bit. That seems to be the same reaction shot, like Linda's reaction shot.
Yeah.
Linda, where are you taking me? Straight to hell.
What a great line. I love Linda's sharp shooting in this scene. She leans across the car. Bullseye.
Yeah, this is a great scene here.
Yeah. Again, this is kind of the beginning of the gore era for these type of movies too. So I mean, this obviously doesn't go as far as the Herschel Gordon Lewis films, but
Yeah.
that's more than you'd see in a Hollywood movie.
Oh yeah, a great payoff here. I think at the end because
Yeah, it really picks up a lot of energy.
yeah, it kind of makes you realize that there were some slippier moments in the film, but that it ends up like this. It's pretty brutal, I have to say.
Go off, Linda.
Yeah, this is such a curious film, It's like I'm glad that, it's been restored and kind of brought back out because, I think this is again like sort of a great example of that like regional exploitation filmmaking that was happening in the South. And, a lot of times that these movies can be lost to history if it weren't for people kind of bringing them back and showing them.
It's interesting to watching it from a filmmaking perspective of how you put two films together. So
yeah,
when the movie gets a little slow, you can just kind of think about that while you're watching it. And
very, very Shakespearean here.
yes,
I would have to say.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of this movie, everyone's either dead or divorced, or their marriage is on the rocks. So
wow. Very true crime moment right here, too.
Yeah, it kind of looks like the end of Night of the Living Dead.
Well, thanks, Ben. Had a good time with you.
Yeah, totally. This is fun.
Yeah.